So what we've got on this panel, which I think is going to be really interesting, we've got a mix of what you might call traditional service providers and more MSPs. And really, we're going to talk about the transition and the drive towards CX. So as a starting point, for those who don't know me, I'm Matt Townend. For my sins, I'm Managing Director of Cavell. So most of you will know me. But what I'm going to do is just ask the panelists to introduce themselves first and just maybe talk about, within their introduction, about why they're kind of being driven towards CX. Is it they're being pulled by the customer? What is it that's really driving them towards there? Maybe we'll start with Martin at the end. Maybe you can introduce yourself and kind of what's that? Are you getting a customer pull? What's driving you more and more towards CX?
Yes, I'm Martin Cross. I'm the CEO of Connect, and I guess we've been in the market, the CX market, for a long time. But we had a balance between CX, UC, and network services, and that whole market has just grown, the CX market, and it now dominates our customer base, it dominates our revenues, and AI is kind of, I've got to have a drink now every time we say AI, and outcomes. AI has really driven that, but I think it feels like the customer experience contact center market is like a supermassive black hole, and gravity is sucking everyone into it. You've got UC vendors who are now contact center vendors. You've got CRM vendors who are now contact center vendors. You've got hyperscalers who are now contact center vendors. And so that's the push. They're pushing you into that market. So if you've already got those vendors, they're saying, come into this market. And then I guess the pull is the money, right? Which is, I think contact center was always quite a lucrative market, but AI has opened a new area, a new budget that we didn't have before. So there's now two budgets we can access. There's the infrastructure IT procurement budget, which is the licenses, SIP services, all of that kind of good stuff. But AI opens a new budget, which is the line of business budget, the CEO's budget, right? This is delivering business outcomes. And so with AI, you can now access that. I've got them both in. With AI, you can access that budget too. So now you've got, and that's a bigger budget than and you've got the adjacent markets like UC, they're becoming increasingly commoditized. Yeah. So that you're getting both. You're getting a draw from the money, and if you know how to deliver the outcome, then you can access that money. And then you're getting a push from the vendors who are saying, no, I'm coming into this marketplace, I want you to take that for us, because none of these technologies work without one of us making them work.
And Karim, you're maybe introduce yourself, but you're from obviously Tata. A number of people will probably know who you are, but a very different position from a lot of the other panelists. So maybe why are you being pulled towards, or are you being pulled towards the CX market?
My name is Karim Radi. I manage the total experience within Tata Communications, UK, Ireland, and continental Europe. And mainly what we have been seeing in the market is a big shift in terms of the requirements. So it's getting wider than just customer experience. It's becoming customer experience, agent experience, and employee experience. So this is what have been driving, and we have been seeing with our customers and partners. We are considered to be the carrier of carriers. So we are into the business of B2B and B2C on different levels and scales. And this is where we have been seeing the market is, with AI capabilities.
And is it, like Martin said, is it the money? Is it the cash you're seeing and potential customers have got that's driving Tata in this direction, or?
What have been driving was already mainly, it started by technology and price. However, it went into the business outcome and how we can add value on top of the AI and IA, which is already like intelligent kind of interaction.
And David, you're coming from a different position again. So Vonage has a couple of different hats within it, both as a CCaaS and a UCaaS vendor. Why have you been, are you being pulled? Why have you been pulled towards this?
Yeah, first of all, Vonage has got three elements to it. It's got the CPaaS, so we're doing the APIs and all that side, very much driven, accelerated by the Ericsson acquisition of Vonage. Then we have the contact center, the CC area, and UCaaS. So I'm coming from the UCaaS area, and following the acquisition, Ericsson said, we've got all these CSPs out there. They all have broad work. They're all looking to shift. Go talk to them. So we ended up landing a deal. One of our deals was with Bharti Airtel in India. So we went out fishing. We caught a whale. And it's this guy's 468 million mobile subscriptions, 20 billion turnover. They're a big outfit, 2,500 people in their sales team. So we went out with UC, and pretty soon we found that actually what they want is kind of CC Lite or UC on steroids. And so that's been very much pulling us into this space. And I think it's a really interesting story in terms of where UC is today and where it can go. Because everybody's saying it's getting monetized, it's dying. But actually, we're seeing it could be like a distributed contact center. So you've got your big monoliths, and you've got the small branches down there. So interesting area that we're seeing there. Pull, definitely.
So you're being pulled in a few, obviously with traditional new voice media type business, you've always been, but you're being pulled now in that service
UC
provider.
up, but we don't need all those features. We don't need smart skill-based routing on that level, but we need better UC features.
Yeah, and Dan's one of the people we call a Cavalian. I think you've been to every one of our events we've ever done almost over the years. So
pretty much.
Yeah, so welcome. But maybe you want to explain kind of what you're doing with your role and where you're being pulled now, maybe by customers, or is it the opportunity? What's happening?
Hey everyone. So I'm the Director of Technology Strategy at Opus. So we're a little bit different. So traditionally we were a reseller. Whereas we're actually making the transition to being more of a service provider. But again, it's both for us. So a lot of it's just revenue opportunity. So if you think about, so we've grown out of PBXs and then UC and done a lot of reselling of various bits and pieces. You have to sell a lot of UC deals to get the same revenue as a CX deal. So from that perspective, revenue opportunity. But there is a customer side as well. So a lot of the customers that we've done a good job of keeping loyal to us for many, many years. So maybe they started on a Mitel journey and then perhaps Microsoft Teams. They're coming to us for more and more, I guess, value as they enter the CX space.
So the customer's drawing you to do a broader set of things, which you're as well as there's the opportunity. It's coming both ways, really, a bit like Martin mentioned. And Wayne, maybe introduce yourself and your business, and where you're seeing it. You're a slightly different angle as well.
Yeah, so I'm Wayne, Head of Technology Transformation, generally working around business retentions, outcomes, AI, the usual stuff that we've heard all day today. I thought I'd get them in quick because these guys told me I had to. But yeah, so I mean, it was quite interesting what Dan just said there about PBXs. I think with this business retention, we're going into a lot of base now where they still are functioning on PBXs. There's a lot of heritage voice out there, which is a great segue into what we're talking about CX. So the sales motion, I feel, has changed a lot in how we used to just sell bums on seats, sell licenses. It's not that way anymore. There's an optimization to what we have to do. So even if we're talking of going into these cloud providers, hybrid, whichever we're looking at, there still has to be a motion to go forward for the optimization, which will include outcomes of what we're trying to achieve, which generally for us is, ROIs, SLAs, etc., making operation efficiencies, measurable outcomes, etc., along the way. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment.
So kind of segues onto a key question, and I spend too much time with private equity who always say things like, where is the value created? So I thought I'd ask, where are we going to create value as a team here? Where are we going to build value in businesses? Because when you've already just talked about the change in a way you're going through, and how do you have to change as a business? And Martin, maybe I'll start with you. I think you've probably seen it most from a CX space. You've gone from a point where you were selling premise, UC, and now you're creating value in different ways, I guess. So maybe talk to where you think, from a Connect point of view, you're looking to create value with that horrible M&A world, and we're playing bingo up here. So far we've got outcomes, AI. I'm going to say moat by the end. That's the other thing you've got to say at the moment. Where's your moat? So where does sort of Connect create value, and how's that changed?
It goes back to the thing I said about the two different buyers and two different budgets, right? So the IT budget is a total cost of ownership, is a TCO budget, and increasingly that's becoming more commoditized, and when you go into the business, it's an ROI budget that you're selling against. And so you need a completely different set of people engaging with the customer, and that builds a completely different relationship that creates that value. So in a TCO model, you've got sales guys and pre-sales guys saying Genesis is what is the answer now, what's the question? Whereas in an ROI type model, you're coming and saying, what is your challenge? What is the outcome that I'm trying to deliver? how can I deliver that? And then it's an outcome-led, well, outcome-centric, services-led, and then the technology is an enabler. So you're reversing the way that you sell into the business. And then you're becoming their trusted partner, right? So the business can't spell IT, and they need a partner who can translate those outcomes to that. So you're sitting in that organization, helping them identify opportunities to improve. So you now need a business analyst more, and a customer success manager more than you need an IT person and a salesperson.
And is that what you say, challenging that slightly? So you've got two customers there. So you've still got customers who are just saying, whether it's Genesis 5.9, whoever, what's the technology, that's the solution. But you've also got this new set of customers who are saying, I want to talk to you about outcomes now, Martin. You've got to set up to do that. So you've got, are you seeing that, are they two discrete groups?
Yeah. So you need almost two sales motions, I hate that term, two sales engagements, two different types of people. And you also associate yourself with something entirely different. When you're running infrastructure, they're the guys you call when it breaks, right? So you're completely associated with things going wrong, and you're running around like headless chickens trying to fix it. When you're dealing with outcomes, you're the person adding value. You're the guy saying, I can save you £1 million if you just spend 500K with me. And you're there, you truly are their trusted advisor. I don't think you could really, we all say that we're trusted advisors, but when we run infrastructure, I'm not sure what advice I'm really giving, just pay me on time, right? I'm going to keep this thing going. Whereas you're moving into a trusted advisor relationship, they become dependent on you to realize those outcomes, and you're the guys that know how to make AI do that job. So you become embedded in their business. So you have this really long-term relationship with customers. It's not transactional. I sell you something, 3 years later, you need to refresh it. Now, every day, every month, I'm looking at what's happening in your environment and showing you where you can add value. So it completely changes the value proposition, the relationship with customers.
And is that, because I think knowing your business to some degree, you're medium to large, you play in a sort of a larger enterprise environment to some degree. And, obviously Wavenet Opus, you play in a broader set of customers. Does that resonate with you, or do you see, are we all wishing that customers do the trusted advisors as ROI, but the reality is quite a lot of them are still in that other position? Maybe Dan?
I think, no, it does resonate, but often you have to earn that. So our value is quite often when the customer doesn't really understand what their challenges are. So we're all talking about outcomes, but a lot of people still don't know why people are calling their business, basic things like that. So by shaping the right kind of consultancy or using the right tools in a lot of cases, you can actually surface information that they're unaware of, and then go, well, actually, the cost of doing nothing is this. And if you don't do it, it will cost you a load of money. Whereas if you follow what your data is saying based on your own conversations, it actually informs the use cases and the opportunity for them to gain ROI.
So that's interesting. Just different levels of sophistication. Sometimes you're having to help them get to what they're at, whereas maybe there's more of, in some of the larger businesses, there might be some more,
I don't think that's actually true in the larger businesses either, right? So the larger businesses think they know what they're doing, and they think they understand their contact center, but all the insight is hidden in the voice recordings, the chat histories, the email histories. And one of the magics of AI is that unstructured data can be crunched and you can surface insights. And every time we've done it, even with these big, sophisticated customers, we've shown them something they did not understand about their business, and that's where you become that trusted advisor as well, right? And that also feeds your trust, but it also feeds your opportunities. So you're effectively creating a list of opportunities for them to pay money for you to fix.
And Karim, from your sort of Tata, I'm thinking again, I might be wrong, I'm thinking big companies, but infrastructure, I'm thinking, Tata are the people you trust for your infrastructure. Does this resonate? I mean, are you seeing that, is Tata really having those conversations about ROI and outcomes, or is it more on the other side still?
Definitely it resonates, and it's already Tata stands already in the conversion point. So it's between the customer experience, the network, the digital platforms, implementation of AI, and the overall already customer ecosystem. So whenever we have been already having a discussion with CIO, CTO, and they are asking already for a technology plan, usually we come back, what is the business plan? So based on the business plan, you shape already the technology plan. And accordingly, if we are looking to it already from a total experience standpoint, there's already some gaps on the customer experience and on the employee experience. For example, if we're looking about already customer experience, you will see some inconsistency of experience. If I call 0800 number, Mark answer the call, I get already a quality of service. If I close a line, I call again 0800, and Peter answer the call, I get a different experience. So it's inconsistent experience across the different agent skill set. On top of that, what we have been seeing already with our customers and partners, again, large scale, 10,000 seats contact center customers, that already there is a big disconnect between voice, IVR, and digital channels. So you can start a journey on voice, okay, and you cannot continue on digital channel. Or you start already on a digital channel, and then you cannot escalate to a voice channel with the full interaction suite, okay, to the agent. On the employee experience, it goes into a different way. It's unfair work distribution. So you'll see one of the agents handling 100 calls a day, while others already doing 10 calls a day. So in terms of workforce management, there is always a challenge. Last but not least, okay, on the employee standpoint or an agent experience standpoint, the knowledge management. What kind of information we are giving to the agent to empower them to better serve the end customer. So this is where we have been seeing in the market.
Yeah, so you're seeing more in the operational, from what you're saying there, in the operational side, as I'd expect. Are you getting those big ROI conversations as well? So you're,
Definitely.
it's not, okay, interesting.
It's already about cost to serve. And let me take a very simple example of average handling time of an interaction. When you get the average handling time from 20 minutes to 4 minutes, this is already automatically it's a saving to the customers and partners. And it's a decent one.
And maybe Wayne, I mean, I think we talked before, and I think a number of people in the room are saying this is all fine, but we're dealing with things like, you know, the turn off of PSTN, I know, which is one thing, and we're dealing with some practical, it's great talking about our ROI and outcomes, but there's some practical things here. So in your sort of base, I mean, I know WaveNet pretty well has got quite a broad set of customers. Are you seeing a difference? You know, is there customers who are still looking to buy, you know, just by the technology, or are you being able to engage with them really on this sort of, you know, ROI journey? And how are you having to change to do that, I mean, as a business? Because it's a big challenge. Meanwhile, the end of the PSTN is causing us quite a few problems. Just wondered.
Yeah, I think people are still looking to buy technology, especially in that SMB base. So still people are asking for phones. It's happening. They just want to take out the standard PBX they have and just put a phone on the desk. But when you start engaging with the conversations, and I think this is where the trusted advisor comes in and putting a team around what you do when you sell. And I think CSMs are key, pre-sales, sales specialists. You know, I don't think that the sales heads, account managers have the ability to sometimes articulate how clever the technology and innovation is today. So getting that support role is obviously where people are spending, and building out that as a motion from start to finish is the journey where you will get the sale now. So like I said earlier, the sale has changed. It's not just about bums on seats. It's about building out that over a period of time.
And that's a challenge for all the businesses at the moment, is this transition, you know, the transition we've all discussed, which is, you know, from selling technology to selling outcomes. And you've got to deal with a plethora, I guess, of different customer types who are in that journey. I'm thinking a little bit around, are you having to do anything different? So are you having to, I mean, I remember in my day when I had to bring managed hosting into Verizon as a business, we had to put overlay sales guys in or different people to be able to do that transition. Are you having to do different things, or are your account managers able to handle this?
Yeah, I think there's definitely different things happening. I think upskilling, we spoke about it earlier, is very key to what we're doing. We talk about AI. AI is not the answer. It is literally the outcome. So obviously talking about it, I think there's a lot about ROI. I think it sits in 3 buckets. Generally the first one I think is intent routing. I think you can really get an ROI on what it comes in, how a call is handled when it first come in for first contact resolution. We've then got obviously the middle piece, I believe, is with Agent Assist, it can help out. And then obviously the Agent Insights at the end. But obviously you can't just sell that whole bucket to somebody. They're not going to go in for that. There's a wave of people worrying about how much it's going to cost going forward. I heard a story the other day about electric cars 3 years ago. You know, there was no tax. There was free will electric. Now you look at it today, everyone's getting taxed. You've got to pay the same price as petrol. So is that a concern that people are talking about? I believe so, yeah. And we talk about tokens and how they're going to use consumption-based. Is it going to rocket? OpenAI, what did they disclose? About 850 million they spent and made 450 billion. It was quite a lot. So I think there's a lot of nervousness still, and we talk about data, sovereignty, etc. People don't want to jump in at the deep end at the moment. I think it's coming to fruition. I think vendors are seeing it is now an ARR to them that is very relevant in the market.
And David, from your point of view as well, this challenge that I guess you're working with, in your case, with the service providers, but overall Vonage is going through some challenges in terms of changing the way you move to selling these sorts of things. What are you seeing from a Vonage point of view?
Well, I think it also brings us back to your first question about the value. Where are we getting the value? Where are we relevant in this space? And what we found is our relevancy really is it's MRR, getting that monthly pay back every month, the seats, but enabling our customers to really leverage that. So we got a solid product, they resell, the market changes. For example, one of the things we saw recently in India, that all outbound financial services called, BFSI right down to insurance, they need to present a 1600 CLI. So one bank will have like one 1600 number going out. Yet, you've got some customers with 40,000 branches, 4 people in each branch. So they have to, that numbers have to flow. You have to have that sticky agent, intelligent routing. And that's where we see CX adding so much value. So we're providing a solid product that enables a UC to be spread out across that layer, and then the SP who's selling it adds connectivity and other value on top of that. So it's the importance there is to be relevant, to be quick, to be agile, and to enable the real value, the monetary value, to flow backwards.
So we're dealing with how we create this value through CX, and then we've got this thing called AI arrive, which is linked to that. But how the hell are serving? Maybe Martin, you're dealing with this kind of thing. You've been on this journey for quite a long while. But how are we dealing with this now, this new transition to be broadening out of, if you like, customer experience, pouring out of our traditional CCaaS world into a broader kind of AI world? How's that transition going? What is that? Is it possible for somebody to take that? People keep saying to me, where's the value going to be created? Is it going to be like the MSPs who can talk to the customer and create this value, or is it somebody else? How are you thinking about AI added on top of all of this stack?
Well, I'm hoping it's the SIs, MSPs, because that's what I do, right? So, and I think it's even more complex than that, right? So I said right at the start that everybody's entering the CCaaS market, right? So now you need to know the CCaaS technology. The CRM players are now playing in that ball. The hyperscalers are playing in that. And then the AI guys are coming in on top. And you've got to know all of those things. The good thing is that's a really hard thing to know, and customers aren't going to know that stuff. And so they're going to have to depend on a partner to do that. And again, all of those things are changing the commercial models. So, there's been the SaaS apocalypse with 830 billion wiped off the SaaS stock market because of fear that whole business model of selling licenses is going to be eaten by AI. And that's why all the vendors are now AI companies, right? So even the commercial models are different. So you've got consumption models you have to deal with, token models you have to deal with, subscription models you have to deal with, and you need an entirely different billing engine to run with that. On top of that, you need SIP and all the other stuff going on there. So there's a load of complexity which we have to adapt to. But by adapting to that, you become indispensable because they can't track all of those tokens. They can't track all of that stuff. You're the guys that can do that. They can't integrate into CRM systems and CCaaS systems and so on. So I think that's the real magic, is we have to adapt, and that becomes the opportunity that we can make obviously the money from. Yeah,
and I guess you guys on the career, you guys have got to adapt as well. I mean, this is quite a change for Tata, I would imagine, moving in this kind of new world. What are you having to do practically? If I was sitting in your space in Tata, I've been in a similar space in Verizon in my past. What are you doing differently now? I mean, are you having to build new teams? Are you having to address this sort of broader problem?
Yeah, from a Tata perspective, we are upskilling, and already the main reason behind that is we have been already seeing the wider portfolio. So it's going away already from the vendor-specific to vendor-agnostic kind of approach. Solution-based, okay, based on customer requirements and needs, and looking at the wider ecosystem in terms of network, overlay, underlay, the managed service piece, moving from just a delivery partner, okay, where success is measured by the go live, into a transformational partner where you go through the journey of strategy and moving really with the mission, vision of the organization and driving the business.
And Dan, I guess that's what you're having to deal with as well in your sort of in your role, thinking about how do you do that? Are you thinking multi-vendors now? Or are you selling technology? Well,
100%. So I think, again, it's to do with the conversation changing around. So we did all used to go and say, I've decided what I want to sell. I'm going to go, and we still have salespeople trying to do that now. That's also part of the transition. But no one vendor does everything well. So the value for us is going, well, which one has the best voice channel? How do I make that integrate perfectly with omnichannel? Do I use that vendor's AI, or do I work with an actual AI company to deliver that over the top? And I think from a customer buying perspective, they don't want to manage all of that stuff, which is, again, what makes us really sticky and cements that relationship, because as long as we're making it work for them and the technology doesn't get out of control, then there's value right there.
And how are you dealing with what Martin said, which is this continuous optimization? So before you sold a bit of technology, and let's be honest, you supported it. I'm not. This isn't a comment about Opus. I'm commenting about the industry. You supported it on a break-fix basis. Now, in principle, you're going in and helping them optimize all the time. That must be going to be a challenge in the long run as well.
It's an evolving thing that's happening. So naturally, that happens with your larger customers anyway, because you tend to stay close to them. But there was a really good point made earlier about the different spends as well. So now we're not talking about technology spend anymore. We're talking about what it's going to cost someone if they're not keeping up with, the efficiencies and the other bits and pieces that can, I'm going to say value again, come from the value. So that's also really, really important, because then what actually works for the customer works for us as well.
Okay. And maybe, because problem is me, I like chatting, so I could be here for 45 minutes, and we've got about another 5 minutes before we want to finish this up. So maybe what I'll ask, and I'm getting a question as well, but what will separate the winners from the losers? So very quickly along the table, what's going to make you win? You're all going to try and win in this transition. What is going to separate the winners from everyone else over the next few years? I mean, how are you going to win?
Owning the customer, 100% working with the customer, building out from the customer, getting close to that relationship and not giving up to the vendor. It's really quite apparent that vendors will come in and sell their technology, but it's not the way it is. An MSP, you need to own that customer and own their outcome.
So you're going to go, as I said, and more of a multi-vendor, you want to own that customer. Dan, what are you going to do?
What Wayne says is true, but also you have to make sure that you're staying relevant and constantly evolving. So the tools that are right for the next 18 months won't be the right tools in 24 months. And
I thought you said something interesting in the beginning, which was providing insights from data already. They may not know what their outcomes they want. So starting to provide that seemed pretty interesting.
Well, it is, and to me it seems quite simple, because depending on the customer that you're in, the outcome's going to be completely different. And if you're working from data, if it's a sales organization, it might be human behavior. If it's someone that receives a lot of inbound calls, well, then there's going to be use cases for high volume, low complexity stuff that bots can have. So it really, really depends. But that's why actually using the data and helping the customer and not letting them assume, as Martin said, which is really, really dangerous. Because if you think you know what the answer is, that's why a lot of these projects fail.
Yeah. And David, what's going to make you a winner? If you ever want to see something funny, see David ski down the Matterhorn. David crashed at the Matterhorn in a...
Not the Matterhorn, no. Kitzbühel.
Kitzbühel.
Matterhorn would be pretty impossible.
Anyway, what's going to make you a winner in Vonage's context?
Well, what we're working on really is agility and depth of platforms. You've got the capability that's wanted. You're anticipating the capabilities and requirements, and you're agile enough to be able to deliver that fairly rapidly. And I think that's critical because we're in a changing world. We're in a changing market. And then, to anchor that, you want to be able to have, AI elements that, in our position, like handle tier 1 support, because you're handing that off to somebody else, and they'll never have the knowledge. So you make it easy for them, better experience for the customer, and sticky all around.
And Karim, what's going to make Tata win? And is there an element of carrier strength here? So we've talked a lot about, is there something different that you can do because of the layer and complexity of your network? I don't know, I'm just asking.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with you with all my colleagues. From a Tata perspective, okay, because we are considered to be the carrier of carriers from the voice side and network side as well. So we look already on the wider conversion. And at the same time, we don't focus just on customer experience. We focus already on the wider customer ecosystem. And where we can be already very strategic, okay, meeting the expectation of mission and vision of the organization with the play of the multi-vendor or vendor-agnostic kind of approach.
Okay. And last but not least, Martin, I have a query, which I'm going to ask you, which is, I've seen all the CCaaS vendors that we've mentioned, all share prices growing, all seem to be making massive profits. That hasn't yet come through to all the guys who seem to be doing the work. So how do you guys win and, ultimately, drive some value, more value probably?
Well, that is answering the same question, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
And I think from my perspective, everyone else has given all the good answers, so I think last I have a bit of a disadvantage on that. But I think the way that we succeed and we gain value is by making our customers successful. That's all we need to do, right? If we make our customers successful, then they will spend more money with us. It's a kind of virtuous circle. And also their competitors will come looking, saying, how the hell did you do that? And they'll say it was little old Connect. And then they'll come to us as well. And if you want to go back to the value and the share price, actually, I'm going to disagree with you in two fronts. One of which is a lot of the share prices in CCaaS vendors have been hammered recently because of the fear in the marketplace of AI. But you're right in that the value isn't being seen in the integrators, although I think something big happened recently. Both OpenAI and Anthropic put a load of money into some private equity backers and said, do you know what we need? We need service providers to make this stuff work. Some of these vendors have got an 85% failure rate at proof of concept. And they've got an 85% failure rate because they don't have people like us who understand the market they operate in, understand how a contact center works, and they can make that AI deliver what it needs. So I think this is the point in which it changes. When somebody puts hundreds of millions or billions of dollars to create services businesses that will drive AI, that's a real statement to the marketplace, but they're only going to operate at the very top end. We're doing 80% of the market here. So that's where the PE houses need to come in and see these guys are going to be the ones that are really driving success.
And they're all struggling. So whenever I look at anything, a lot of AI companies, all struggling on go-to-market. So their big challenge is not technology, it's a go-to-market challenge. And I guess that's what hopefully the integrating layer, the MSP layer is going to help solve. We have a question up here, which you can help us answer, which I will end with, which is, I have to turn around because, oh, it's here. Gosh, you'd think I've done this before, wouldn't you? What will drive the growth for the next year? It's all around customer experience, which I guess is what we would suggest. With that, I'm afraid we're kind of up on time, but I'd just really like to thank our panel. That was a really interesting debate and discussion, and feel free to grab any of them. When I say, I have to be careful with the word grab. Speak to them over drinks later to get more insight. So with that, gentlemen, if I could show a sign of our appreciation. If you gentlemen would like to make a move to the left.